There once was a man named Gold Roger who was king of the pirates. He had fame, power, and wealth beyond your wildest dreams. Before they hung him from the gallows, these were the final words he said.
Our perspective is yours for the taking, but you'll have to join us first. We left everything we debated at the Yonkō Table.
Ever since, pirates from all over the world set sail for the Grand Line, searching for the Yonkō Table, the table that will make their dreams come true. Yo, everyone. The Yonkō Table has set sail yet again, this time not into the open seas, but into the realm of the multiverse. But this is not about Doctor Strange. No siree. It is not about Doctor Strange and the multiverse of madness. That's in a couple weeks. This podcast, this episode of the Yonkō Table is here to talk about everything, everywhere, all at once. As you can see, I have the Everything Bagel to commemorate this event, and this is very exciting. I love Everything Bagel. So when I saw an Everything Bagel in the film, my mind was set. So we are going to deep dive this movie. We're going to do our best to do it because I feel like this movie is something where you probably need to watch a couple times to properly dissect it. But hey, we're here. And we're going to get fed at the Yonkō Table. But with me, as always, is fellow Yonkō GrandMasterHoop. Grandmaster, is that RACCA-COONY in the background?
No, that's Ratatouille.
Oh, Ratatouille.
Right.
I remember it was RACCA-COONY, though.
Well, as in the movie, she was pretty adamant that it was a raccoon, not a rat. And then it just so happened it was just some kind of leak, I guess, that she got from the other universe to where it was but it wasn't even a movie. It was a person in a restaurant. It was Harry Shum Jr. Right. Either way, that was probably, I thought that was the most, I love Ratatouille, so any mention of Ratatouille is great for me, but this was a god tier joke. And
it went mad.
Fight gag.
I loved it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So yeah, I'm here to try to deep dive this and get it wherever this takes us with everything, everywhere, all at once. So yeah, I'm ready.
We are ready. We're gonna do our best. But also to help us dissect this film, we have Supernovas with us here today. And yeah, let's deep dive this. I guess before we officially deep dive it, I do want to ask the question, how much of this movie did you guys know about before going in? Because I feel like that's a very important aspect to the film, which, by the way, for our listeners that are listening to this episode, I think I speak for everyone when we highly recommend try and go in with the least amount of information as possible. Go in blind a little bit. Don't listen to this podcast right now. Go watch it, then come back, then listen, and then we'll welcome you in open arms at the table. But yeah, I do want to put that out there. You know, how much did you guys know about the film? Because I could tell you the most I knew was that it was multiverse, but that's it. I didn't know anything else outside of that. I didn't know where the film was going to go. I didn't know what type of genres it was going to tackle. All I knew was that the main actress from Shang-Chi was in there, the auntie. And bam, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to see this. But yeah, how much did you did everyone know about the movie before going in?
So I'm going to start because
Go ahead.
I really love this film, right? And I think I do want to point out, I think contextually for me, there's a lot of history. I feel like I didn't know much about the plot, but I understood the significance of like, we have a very unique Asian cast that's going to like do this. And like, I think I saw a couple of interviews because the whole thing that was like really big deal was like, wait, that's the guy from Indiana Jones and the Goonies. Like, yes. That's him again. But yeah, I think, you know, people were talking about, and I think I was just watching interviews or just things of how like, oh, but I watched it, with some of that context with the Asian Americans and whatnot, or just like Asian folk in general. But I had the chance to do the early screening by accident. I was with a friend
in March.
Yeah, I watched it in March. So I was on my PhD visit in Colorado, and I was with a friend, and I needed just to take, just relax. And so we had a moment where I was like, let's watch a movie, and I was like, oh, Everything Everywhere All at Once is playing. And lo and behold, that was like the only day it was playing. Like when we looked at movies, it was like it was just playing that day. And then it was funny because we left and we were like, holy, like, oh my God, that was amazing. And she was like, I want to take my friends to it. And then she realized, she was like, wait, I can't, there's no showings until like April. So yeah, I think for me, you know, to answer the question, I was like, it was actually like, I had like, again, knowledge about the actors because it was a big deal in our like Asian community. But like, other than that, that's really it.
Yeah, I think I saw like one trailer. And you know, Michelle Yeoh, very recognizable face, and she's pretty great in what she's been in. So, and then I when I saw the trailer, I didn't really pay attention, but I do pay attention to A24. A24.
That's the production studio.
Right.
That's the weird one.
Right. It's like, yeah, those weird films with like some kind of deeper message or maybe some kind of you know, thought-provoking horror going on. But
they did show the trailer for Men. That was the first time I saw the trailer in theaters. It made me more excited to go see it. Men, yes. The title is called Men. It's an A24.
It's Alex Garland's next film. He's the director of Annihilation.
Yes.
I've not seen it.
No, I haven't seen it either.
It has a lot of horror vibes. I get a lot of Get Out stuff from it, you know, like Jordan Peele. It looks really good. Anyways, I just wanted to mention that because that was the first time I saw it in theaters, the trailer. I did see the trailer before that, but this is the first time I saw it in theaters, which I guess it fits the theme because, like you said, this was an A24 production film, so they showed an A24 production trailer right beforehand. So I thought that was cool.
Well, I saw a trailer in theater as well, and that was literally that was the first time really the only time that I saw anything related to it heavily up until close to release, me personally. Now that could be due to me being kind of focused in on one thing, so I was pretty busy and not consuming media at such a rate. But I also felt like you had to, if you jumped in the rabbit hole, then you could find out more, but I felt like it wasn't as marketed or as clear cut as normal films or bigger films tend to be, especially coming from A24. So for me, or at least for me, I didn't see any of that. But I was hooked literally from the first trailer. When I saw the first trailer, I'm like, what the freak is going on here? And it just stuck in my mind. So when it came back around months later, I'm like, I gotta go check this out. Before I even heard anything, I was like, I just need to check it out. And then I heard the hype.
Is it just me, or I feel that was part of the marketing? A24, I feel most of the trailers I ever see are through social media, and like that's it. And I feel that's part of their marketing. They really do want you to go in more blind and really kind of want that word of the mouth kind of publicity. Because honestly, I saw the trailer, but Rose, it wasn't until you were mentioning it, and then Tangelo, I think you were mentioning it too, that I was like, okay, maybe this would be worth a watch. And then then that's why I went and saw it, because word of the mouth. And that was before it even came out yet. Like we were talking about, when does it come out? When does it come out?
And I think we all collectively gave no explanation. We're just like, wow,
right.
Just go see it.
And I appreciate that. I'm glad nothing else was said about the film.
I don't think any of us can really fathom what we looked at in that cinematic experience. Even when we dive into it today, I feel like, at least me, I'm still gonna be like putting the pieces together for a while. So,
oh, me too. Yeah. I mean, I'll just say it now. I was awake for everything.
Oh, here we go.
I was in and out of everywhere, but I saw all at once. So we're good. We're okay.
Oh, wait. What part were you out?
I was in and out during everywhere.
That's the best part.
I know, that was like the emotional crux. And yes, we're okay. Just continue. I gotta throw it out there now. I really tried.
I'm sure you did. Yes.
Captain Falcon, me and her watched it together, and she didn't even want to go watch it. And she came out with more knowledge and information than I did. It's okay. I'm gonna be fine. You're gonna help me piece it together.
Yeah, we're gonna answer some questions for you today.
Okay.
Right.
That's right. I mean, well, I like how the title itself plays into the film, like this, how it tells the story, right? So the first title is Part 1, Everything, right? which it fit the theme of what was going on in the very beginning. Sandra Yo's character, she is she owns a laundromat. She's a Chinese Chinese immigrant, and she's running a laundromat up to her eyeballs in bills, struggling very, very much with life. And then you have what's his name?
Oh, Wayman.
I meant Michelle, yo. My bad.
That's racist.
No, it's not. I don't know her by name.
Y'all stop it. Just go Evelyn. That's the character's name.
Evelyn.
I'll remember Evelyn. I realized who I was referring to.
Yeah, you're referring to Sandra Oh.
Sandra Oh.
Right. It's okay. Keep going. Evelyn
Anyways,
and Wayman.
Evelyn and Wayman, they're running a laundromat, and what? They are struggling with bills, barely keeping up with their taxes.
They want to open a new store too.
They want to expand. They want to get an expansion. And I swear I forgot his name, but I know this guy. It's the Gong Gong, right? In the
the grandpa?
Yep. The grandpa.
James Hong.
I love this guy.
Hong.
Yeah.
Oh, he's everywhere. Yeah.
He's everywhere. Literally everywhere. This was probably the only part of the movie that I actually, like, prior to watching it, that I saw in terms of like what I saw in trailers. Like, oh, this is because I even have a coworker that is debating on whether or not to see it. And they said that from their perspective, all they knew about the movie was it seemed to be more like a drama, where it's like an Asian American family struggling with the American dream and, stuff like that. He didn't know anything about multiverse, about, some of the comedy bits that it gets into. And he was asking me, should I go watch this movie? What is it about? And I literally told him, go in with what we just said earlier. Go in with what you know, and that's it. Don't look up reviews. Don't look up synopsis. Don't go in. Just go in, watch it. You're going to be, I feel like he'll be impressed. I'll probably talk with this about him tomorrow because I think he's going to see it soon. But anyways, how did you guys think about part one? Did you feel like it did like a good setup of all the characters? Establishing the relationships between what's the daughter's name again? I know her evil name, Jobu Tobacky. But what's
good job.
Yeah. I can remember that.
Oh no, I was trying to say it the whole time. I couldn't get it.
Yeah, the
Wait,
DoctahReeka.
Joy. Okay.
Joy. That's right. Yeah. How did everyone feel about part one? In establishing the characters.
Did I unmute myself? There we go. Sorry, my cat is knocking over books.
That is a cat. That's what a cat does.
Yes. So as far as like, just quickly answer before I jump into the first part. So I knew of it. I listened to a lot of movie podcasts. So listened to a lot of like countdown or best things to watch in 2022 and things to look forward to, etc. So I'd heard a lot of hype, but didn't really know a lot. But purposefully, like you all have already shared, like people don't look up things, just go in and watch it. So I only watched one trailer, but regardless, as far as the setup, I think I actually kind of appreciated that they just went in guns blazing. Like there didn't feel like, I think at times for some sci-fi movies or when they're trying to set up a whole universe, in this case multiverse, there can be a tendency to really slowly integrate people into this new world and how it works. And here it was just like, we're going 100 miles per hour immediately. So I actually really appreciated that. I think it was overwhelming, but in a way that kept me kind of on my toes. So I appreciate it too, the different chapters, and I think they're all meaningful in their own ways, which I imagine we'll get to. But I actually really liked the setup of just like, she's as confused as we are. And there's an element of like really being almost in Evelyn's shoes of like, I have no idea what the fuck's going on, but neither does she. And so we're just kind of learning together rather than, there was a lot of exposition, but it didn't feel like dumpy. Like some movies can just kind of dump it all on you and you're trying to figure it out. It's just like, here's a little piece along the way. As she's learning, you are learning, rather in learning and doing. Like she's in the midst of it as we're trying to kind of put the pieces together, which I actually really appreciated.
Right. That's like that third that third level 4D dimensional type of filmmaking, because you know she was going so much back and forth in the beginning with, especially with Wayman from the other universe, you know, and then you know he showed her how to put herself on autopilot, and then like when they're in the closet, and then she's like back at the meeting and she's like not listening to Jamie Lee Curtis telling her why this audit is not going well for her and whatnot. So I really like that too. It is a lot, but it's like purposefully a lot, so you can just kind of just like this.
It's everything.
It's legit everywhere. It's legit everywhere. It's setting the tone. It's setting the tone.
No, and I 100% agree. I feel like that sense of being a little bit overwhelming, I feel like it was more intentional rather than accidental. Just because I feel like the filmmakers did want you to be in the shoes of Evelyn. You know, seeing all those receipts, those invoices that she has to keep track of, and just, you know, managing her marriage, managing her relationship with her daughter, and also the father that she's trying to impress, that never seems satisfied with anything that she does. But I had no idea Jamie Lee Curtis was in this movie.
She is unrecognizable, first of all. I knew it was her when I saw the trailer.
Recognize
she
her.
has a definitive
She
face.
has a wig on.
Look, no, man. I'm telling you,
you knew that was her. Stop.
Switched up her voice too, because in the trailer I knew it was her, but then watching her, I had to kept telling myself that's Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh no, phenomenal acting job, definitely.
Oh,
It
hands
was great.
down, very good. Right.
You know how I get those back there?
You order them?
No. Oh, I guess behind me is bagels. No, the audit rewards.
Yeah, I'm messing with you. Yep. Oh gosh.
Oh my god. No, Jamie Lee Curtis was great. I mean, she's great in almost everything that I've seen her in, so no surprise there. As expected, she did her job. But yeah, once they started introducing the sci-fi element, that's where I really got invested, because like with Evelyn's character, I was trying to piece things together too, because every little bit that Wademan would try to feed us, Evelyn wasn't eating it up right away. She would be like, what are you talking about? I don't understand. And I was kind of in the same boat too, because I was like, that's a lot to digest. I have a lot of questions. You're speaking very fast.
A multiverse. You're not my husband. You're my husband from another multiverse.
Oh my god, the back and forth they had with each other, where he kept swapping in and out. Which, by the way, phenomenal acting on what's a short round. I remember him as short round. What's his name?
I was looking up how to pronounce his name, because I think he doesn't go by Jonathan anymore.
Okay.
And it was Jonathan Kwan, I think that's how you pronounce it. Now he just goes by Ke Hui Kwan, and I was looking up how to pronounce it, but yes, let's call him Jonathan.
Jonathan.
I think he still goes by Jonathan. It says also known as Jonathan.
Also, okay, that's fair enough. Well, Jonathan, I feel like, because hasn't there been a gap in acting from when he used
significant gap.
So what was the last one?
I mean, just looking it up, some movie called Red Pirate, which was a Hong Kong movie.
And when was that?
Oh, I'm sorry, Second Time Around, which was another Hong Kong movie. That's 2002. Wow. And then he did a movie in 2021, and then he did this. So
that's insane. Wow. He came back in.
But he's also, and this is crazy too, he's like a stunt coordinator. That's why he wasn't appearing in movies. I think he was just doing stunt coordinating for movies.
Wow, okay.
And it shows clearly, because this man can kick ass.
This was you know, the more I see well done choreography, fight choreography in movies, I get more and more annoyed every time we go out to see a Marvel film. where there's action all the time and action in every movie. And I am just this is a multi-billion-dollar franchise. And we're still seeing this half-assed choreography where I'm just bored in my seat. And I'm like, come on, man. Disney, invest in your stuff.
Well, maybe they'll take notes. Sprinkle of Marvel in this movie. So
I'm hoping so.
He made a fanny pack a weapon of destruction.
That was awesome. He put like little aquarium pellets in there to like increase the weight, I guess.
I was very much invested in that fight scene. Like,
mind you, this is all part one. This is everything.
This is all part one.
This is everything. It's showing you everything.
Right. At any point, did you guys get lost? Like, did you feel like, okay, maybe this part of the part one, everything. Well, I know Grandmaster was lost because
not in everything. I was fine in everything. I was good.
I thought you fell asleep in everything.
The only thing I had to I was in and out during everywhere.
Okay.
The only thing I had to keep reminding myself too, I was like, oh my gosh, they are still in this the IRS building.
Yes.
I had to keep telling myself.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is one setting. They have not left this building. Everything. The only time they left the building is if she went and jumped into another universe.
IRS.
Right. So I had to keep reminding myself that. But no, it's very easy to follow despite all the crazy and zaniness. I thought I was following just fine. You know?
I mean, it's like DoctahReeka said, you're kind of on the same pace that Evelyn's in my opinion.
Right.
So even though you're lost, you kind of understand it because the character's lost too. So you're like on the same level as the character at this part, and actually throughout the whole movie.
No,
I just want to make
Oh, go ahead, Tangelo.
Yeah, I just want to make a side point because I'm trying to jump in, but it's like I don't want to interrupt. But like, back just really quick to Ki Hua Kwan, I think. Kwan? But yeah, anyways, Jonathan, as we've been calling him, but I think it goes by Ki. But okay. I've been watching a lot of interviews about this movie, and so for him, I just want to point out that you're saying like, oh, like he hasn't been in movies. He's like outly spoken about how it was actually Crazy Rich Asians that has inspired him to get back into acting.
Oh, really?
And about how what has happened was that like after he did, I think it was Indiana. I don't know which was first. The Goonies, Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones was first.
Indiana Jones was first, and then it was Goonies, right? I think.
Yeah.
So after that role, or like at period of time, he started realizing that as an Asian American, like he wasn't going to be able to get a lot of great roles. And so he kind of gave up on acting and did other things it sounds like stunt choreography, all this stuff. But it was because, and he talked about this in interviews, he said he watched Crazy Rich Asians and said, oh my gosh, like there are roles for me now again. And so he talked to his agent, and his agent, or he talked to a friend he knew was an agent, I think it's the story. And he became his agent. And then they found this role for him. And he was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. And then Michelle Yeoh, a very similar story where she had a situation where she met the Daniels, or something happened where she got the script. And when you watch the interview, there's an interview where, and it's been passed around like on Twitter, at least some Asian academics that I follow and stuff like that. There's a clip where she gets super teary-eyed at the end because she talks about how like, she starts tearing up because she says like, I saw this script and I just like felt so emotional. And then in the interview, she like pauses and she collects herself and explains that like, I have been waiting for this script all my life because now I can show people that like, I am emotional, I am funny, I am dramatic. Because again, I think there's a whole level. And it makes me think too, like how, Shang-Chi was only like, that role for her did only so much. But like, this was a fully fledged out movie, right? Of like, it was very comedic, very like emotional, very like action heavy too. And so yeah, I just wanted to like point out some of the context. We're talking about the actors and like, oh yeah, like Ki Hua Kwan, and I'm pronouncing his name, but like I know that he has explicitly pointed out that like this was a big deal for him because it was his first movie back since watching Crazy Rich Asians. And then for Michelle Yeoh, she's explicitly stated how like, oh yeah, this was like a big deal for her because she hasn't felt like she's been able to perform like this ever. Because of the roles that exist in Hollywood.
Yeah, I've seen some of the same interviews, and there was a lot of meaning behind the fact that Michelle was in Crazy Rich Asians as well. And so there was this kind of overlap in terms of just some of the cast and actually being inspired enough, and then getting to work with her and whatnot. So I did see a lot of that too. And I think it really goes to show, and I imagine we'll get around to it, that some of the themes in terms of like family, generational trauma, etc., that we've seen it a lot more often, but also present in a variety of cultures and films recently. So I'm so glad that they decided to hop on to the film itself, and that the Daniels also kind of threw their hat in the ring and believed in this, because this is only their second film. Their first film was Army Man. Beyond that, they were really involved in a lot of like music video making, if I'm not mistaken. So the fact that, you know, this worked out in this way and that it is being so well received, I think is a really great thing. And the hope is that stories like this that are creative, but also incorporate a lot of, different people continue, because it was so wildly creative. And I don't know if in any other sense it would have worked for something to be like basically an indie production too, that this isn't a Marvel film. It's not connected to IP. There are ideas that are certainly inspired, but they also take it a little beyond kind of what we see in a lot of the franchises more recently, or even action films more recently. So yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up though.
You know, funny enough, we're kind of talking about Marvel a little bit. There was that interview where I think it's a duo, right, that wrote and directed this movie.
The Daniels.
The Daniels, is that the name?
That's what they're called, the Daniels.
Okay. The Daniels.
Or the Dans, or Daniels, sorry. Yes.
There was an interview that they had like within the last week or two. They said that they were originally approached for work on Loki, the TV series, and they turned it down. It's not like Marvel turned them down. They turned down Marvel. And I think one of the reasons that they said was because they felt limited, constrained by whatever Marvel wanted to do with Loki. And I feel like that kind of goes back to what DoctahReeka was saying. This movie was very creative. It basically tackled the multiverse, but I feel like they did it in such a creative way that at least for me, I personally have never heard of multiverse, I guess, rules or it in the way that they told it in this movie. I think it was very creative. If they were to incorporate something like that into Loki, which at the end of the day is trying to appeal to a more broader audience, try to appeal to as many people as possible, I feel like it maybe would not have hit as much, just compared to what people expect out of a Marvel property. But I'm glad that they turned down Loki, because right here they were able to go full reign. They were able to do what they want, and we got the film that we ended up getting, and I think it was fantastic. I know one thing that we haven't talked about is, I guess, the multiverse rules, right? How'd you guys feel about it? Were you able to keep up with it? I know it took me a little. I probably understood it. I probably still don't understand it about like the halfway point in the movie. Cause what, right? So Wademan, he's from the Alphaverse.
The Alphaverse, which is, I guess, the first, or
well, not the first. It's well, from what, again, I could be wrong. From what I understood, that's just the universe where they discovered that they can universe hop.
Jump. Okay.
Jump.
Okay. Right. And so, jumping is just embodying yourself in the next universe.
Right.
And you can take on the skills from all your cells from the other universes, but one at a time.
And pending, you have to do a very out of sorts and unexpected, like
like that I'm glad they did that.
Was it only one at a time? Like, could they only do it one at a time?
Well, no, that was the thing. They can only do one at a time, but then she, like Joy did, they said,
specifically.
So that means that wasn't an actual rule.
Well, no, it was a rule, and then they discovered that they could do everything everywhere all at once.
I think the rule was with you could only do one, right? But then what made Evelyn's character so special, which again, adds to the comedy bit of the movie and a little bit of the serious undertones. Evelyn was not good at anything. She was, as Wademan described, a failure in everything that she ever attempted. But because of that failure, because she was the the least impressive out of all the Michelles and all the known multiverses, she could stack her skills from different universes. I think that's what they were going for. You know, if you're not a master of anything, you can absorb more knowledge and
say jack of all trade, master of none.
Jack of all trades. And there we go, wordplay. And I feel like it fit the theme. It was still hilarious how every time, I love the scene where in order to use a riot shield in a fight, she slingshots herself to a universe where she's a sign
The sign twirler, yes.
How? Why? I love it, but why?
Why? Because it's genius. That's like genius level thinking. Like, who would have thought that sign twirlers would have made great fight choreography? You know, it's just genius. It's
in Big Hero 6, actually. Fred was a sign twirler.
Oh, you're right. Fred did it too.
However,
wait, what happened in Big Hero 6?
Fred, he was a sign twirler when he put on that monster suit.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So,
but I do want to point out that, like, I think the big word for this film, like, because this was like a very like philosophical film, actually. I think, there was a very
for sure,
very specific. You know, they're pointing out, I think, two ideas, right? And that is the nihilism, right, and then the absurd, right? And so I think nihilism. Oh gosh, I'm not the one. You know, if Kenneth was here, that'd be great, actually, because I'm sure he could actually really get into it.
We're not good enough. We're not good enough.
However, I think, well, what I'll put here is that because they were saying, like, to get to these places, you have to do something that was like they were saying, like, so statistically improbable that it would slingshot you like to another, it's like it's so improbable that it will like slingshot you across the different paths to get to the point that you want to get to. And I think, again, it just really reiterates the whole point of, like, I think the end part of the film, right? And again, I think we're going like very sequentially, but I think the biggest takeaway for me that, like, that completely resonates with me is how the phrase "nothing matters" changes. Like, the meaning of that phrase absolutely means one thing in the beginning of the film, and then means something completely different at the end of the film. And that is, like, dealing with the absurd, right? Because I think a nihilistic view, nothing matters, means that, like, well, like, there is no point to like to certain things, and like we should just kind of do whatever, and there's no objective, all this stuff. And again, I'm not explaining well, wish Kenneth was around. But I think what's interesting is the absurdist take is very much like, was more, it feels, at least from my understanding, the kind of the end, right? Is that, like, she's saying, even though all this stuff, right? Like, I want to be with you, and like nothing matters. Like, again, the same phrase, completely different meanings in the nihilistic context of the absurd. And I think, the whole point of, like, the whole statistical improbability stuff, and like how, again, the entire film, the word that to describe it is absurd, right? Because it's just like everything that happens is like, what is happening? But it's done so coherently. And I think, I think it really captures the whole point at the end. So I think, I just wanted to kind of make that point about, when we're thinking about all, like, the verse jumping and all the things that they did, I think, again, there's a very strategic move here where it's like, it's all in the realm of, quote, the absurd.
I think too, there's an element of, I imagine we'll get to the bagel, but it very much seemed like the first half of the movie was focused on, like, this idea of, like, how the world would be destroyed, or like this something that involves everybody. But by the end, it's more so personal in terms of, like, someone is very depressed and anxious about kind of their role in their life, in the people that they're connected to, that they're trying to destroy themselves. And I think even the Daniels, or one of them, had mentioned that was purposeful as far as, like, taking it from something that feels very broad in terms of, like, life has no meaning, and there is, a lack of connection that we have. Like, why do we care about all of these things? That then shifts to, well, I feel like I actually don't have meaning or connection to things based off of the experiences that I've had. So if I have no meaning, that means, well, if you fall under an existential theory, at least within psychology, the idea is that like, if I have no connection or meaning or understanding of my purpose in the world, then I have an increase of anxiety and depression. And so I sort of saw that in terms of like the everything bagel and the relationship between mom and daughter as more so like taking it from this bigger, broader idea of like life has no meaning to I have no meaning because of this kind of disconnect within that particular relationship. That ultimately leads to like, yes, potentially there is no meaning and it's hard to describe everything. And maybe we have no connection to everything that exists in the universe, but I have connection to you and I can be present in the moment and recognize what it is that feels purposeful or meaningful to me right now. So little things that I got out of the film too.
No, I feel like that encapsulates Jobu Tobacky's entire journey in the film. You know, because she's a character originally from the Alphaverse, and what was the deal? Her mom was forcing her to slingshot jump across multiple, like as many universes as possible, right? And it just broke her mind to the point where now she I guess lives every life she ever has all at the same time, if that makes sense. So like, and kudos to the I guess you call it the costume designers for the film. These were some bomb ass outfits that Jobu was wearing in some of these scenes, and I like how different they were every time. You blink and then bam, she's like a pop singer now in an outfit, and then in another she has this weird like green thing going on. I don't know. She was all over the place with her designs. I like them. They're gonna be great. Those are Oscar nominations right there. I know it. But
I can see it.
Yeah, like what did you guys think about her character? Kind of, I guess the arc that she went through throughout the film. I guess from here we can just go into like the rest of like part 2 and 3 in terms of like, you know, people's journeys and everything. Like, what did you guys think about Jobu's journey? Or I guess Joy's. Well, I guess Joy and Jobu are two different characters. Yeah.
Well, I think the whole thing was, you know, Joy could easily end up as Jobu Tobacky, you know, if she kept at it, you know, because for example, the whole beginning with her girlfriend, and you know, she introduced the girlfriend to Gong Gong as just a friend, and you know, that really, you know, that upset Joy, of course. And then when she mentioned it to Jobu Tobacky, you know, Jobu Tobacky was like, oh, she's still not accepting of my gay relationship, or you I think I'm remembering that correctly.
It was basically like you know, in the hallway, and she was like, you're the reason why, you know, my daughter is gay. And Joy, like Jobu Tobacky, was like, out of everything right now, the thing you're caught up with is your daughter is gay, which again goes into actually how, like, you know, I've been reading something, like I think I read one review that discussed like watching Everything Everywhere All at Once as a trans person, like what is that like? And I forgot exactly kind of like the review just talked about how it was really resonating, the experience of watching this film and what it meant to be trans, and kind of this whole thing of like, yeah, I don't know. I couldn't really explain well the review and how I just thought it was a really cool perspective to have. But yeah, I think it was quite amusing. I do want to point, I personally think that like you have to say like, I see the whole thing though as like Jobu Tobacky and Joy are the same person at the end of the day.
Yeah, I was about to say the same
they're
thing.
not two different people, right? It's just like, I think, you know, what I liked, and when I think about how the cinematography, I don't know if that's which word, but like how they portrayed it was that like everything was happening all at once. And so like her going to the bagel and her running away to the car was kind of like the same thing, right? It's just like they're happening in the same kind of different universes. But it's like the conversation she was having that kind of like brought her back, and they kind of had the hug moment, was the same thing as like her pulling her out of like the bagel. And because again, I think it was like the turn of like, you know, going towards just an absolute nihilistic view and going towards like, no, like pulling her away. Which again, I think I think it's interesting because the whole point of like Michelle doing the whole like I'm gonna verse jump everywhere so I cannot be everywhere at once, right? Like she is the exact like quote foil, I guess, to Jobu Tobacky and Joy. And I think it's interesting kind of seeing how like she instead of to the nihilistic view, towards the bagel, towards the meaningless stuff, she goes to the absurd, which again goes to and I'm now connecting to the character of Waymond, right? Because it's through Waymond, who says like be kind, and the whole googly eyes, right? And like realizing that like God, that quote where it's like, listen, like when it was famous, Evelyn, which was amazing that if you realize too like how they used like real life clips of Michelle Yeoh.
They did use real life clips. Yes, they did.
So she basically had to act as like herself, like as like what does it mean? Like I am a movie star.
Wait, pause. You said they used real life clips of Michelle.
Okay.
You mean when they flashed like her life? Like
all the different
There was like Crazy Rich Asian like
right,
clip that like kind of used.
It's a blink you miss it. A blink you miss it.
Right.
Yeah. And I think it was interesting because the whole exchange there was Waymond going like, listen, like honestly, I think I would have loved a life of just taxis and a laundromat. And it that kind of is what brings that's what brings Michelle Yeoh's character Evelyn like back from the nihilistic view of like and being present. And I think DoctahReeka kind of explained this, but I think there is just I don't know. I think I just started off with the whole this goes into the gay and absurd the whole gay part, right? Of like out of everything like this like is what you're bothered about. I thought that was so kind of fascinating. I think from a queer perspective of like sometimes it's like really odd to like watch these situations of like people just having the biggest issue with like queerness. Like what? Anyways, go ahead, please continue on.
Grandmaster, what parts were you not aware of?
No. I was never out for a prolonged period of time.
Because we're kind of like in the middle portion of the film, so I don't know what parts you don't remember.
No, I was just kind of in and out. So like a lot of the deeper conversations, I would catch either the beginning of them or the end of them. So for example, movie Evelyn and movie Waymond, I was there. I literally blinked and I missed the part where he said I would have liked that life with you, but like Captain.
But you still got that sense though, right?
Well, I got that sense, and especially because too, because
he's the same. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'll say this quickly is that the core of people, it seems, no matter the universe, it's this core that is the same no matter what. And we see that a lot through Waymond, particularly because he's kind no matter what version of it is him.
Right.
At least towards you.
And no, that's perfect because that's what I was gonna get at is that it's that movie Waymond that opened up kind of how she was not recognizing all that Waymond was doing for her, and then just kind of how she, they show that scene where he's like so excited about showing the apartment, so excited about showing the laundromat, and like when they got the pregnancy announcement, and she's just kind of just not that comfortable in her choice, and you can see it, and there's a lack of appreciation or whatever's going on as far as that pressure that Gong put on her, and just how it's not the ideal thing she pictured. But Waymond went above and beyond for her, and it was in that movie conversations that of y'all been saying is that she realized how good of a person he was. And when towards the climax, when he's like, be kind, that's all it really took. It was just some kindness could go a long way to help their daughter from this other universe. Stop going guns a-blazing and kicking ass. Just talk to her.
Although those scenes were great. They were good.
No, they were, but it was like, just talk to her.
Right.
So I still was able to grasp many things.
The major bits. That's good.
Yes.
That's good.
Can I just say that number one, this is such a mind-bending experience. Like it's a trip within itself, at least in my mind. And number two, the reason that it's so mind-bending, I've never seen anything like it, makes even me right now listening to this conversation as we try to somewhat like piece it together in a linear fashion, it's even making me confused because the film is just not, it's like linear and not linear to me at all. It just doesn't feel linear to me. I don't know how to quite explain that.
Well, it's because everything's happening all at once.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, yeah, right. That's the point.
Yeah, roll
right?
credits. Yeah, we got it. It's a wrap.
Well, by the end it does, yeah. In the beginning,
but then
it's somewhat linear, but by the end it's literally not linear at all. Not even close.
No, I agree. And again, it goes into the wordplay of the title, everything, everywhere, and then all at once. Going back to the kindness of Wayman, I'm surprised this guy has not been in acting for like 15, 20 odd years. He did a phenomenal job. He didn't miss a beat. I felt his kindness. The fact that even the divorce papers, he wasn't even trying to get a divorce.
He wasn't trying to get a divorce.
He used it as a tactic that he thought would save their marriage, because he heard through the grapevine. I think it was like some other friend of a friend that tried something similar, and that's how they were able to save their marriage. So Wayman's like, hey, I sense that our marriage is falling apart. I don't want it to. So let me present this so that my wife, Evelyn, can realize, hey, we're falling apart. We've got to fix this. And I don't know, man. What was does anyone remember like the line that he gave her in the famous Evelyn universe, where I think she tried like coming on to him, but he said no, and it was something about kindness. I think we already talked about it a little bit. Where
that's the same one where I just mentioned about the line of laundry, right?
Right.
Be fine just doing line.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought he said something else along the lines before he walked away. Again, this movie requires multiple watches.
Well, it's the whole point is that despite being all successful, I mean, they were both successful in that universe, that he would have, it wasn't about the success for him. It was always about her. He would have gladly accepted any life with her, and despite all his current success, he would give it all up for her, which is what her Wayman did. So it's that cross universe. Oh, all Waymans are kind of the same. They're kind and they love Evelyn.
It's the core of their character.
What point was I'm trying to remember, what point was Evelyn at when they had that conversation? Was she Omni by then, or was she?
Yeah, she was, right?
She was Omni, I think.
So she was Omni. She was at the point where nothing matters, right? She's at the point where she was feeling.
She's experiencing everything.
She was experiencing everything, but she was, I think, pulling out of the nihilistic view, because she like almost like was like entered the bagel and was very like, I don't know. I think it was the rock. Talk about the rock scene, right? Like
the rock scene was
twice.
Genius. I love the
rock
scene.
When because I've seen this movie twice, right? Both times, like my theater, like just went in laughter, because of the absurdity. But I think there was like a switch from like the rocks into all this stuff, and I think it was like that conversation with Wayman was kind of like part of the switching for her, because I think this is after she stabs him, like. Oh my god!
But this is post Omni, right? This is when she's Omni, right?
All at once, right? And so she's Omni, but like multiple all at once. She like stabbed him in like the action sequence. She like did something in the laundromat that was like, oh, she signed the paper and just like the divorce paper and smacked it on him,
right?
And I think he turned him. Just something happened,
and she broke the window too,
right? And so it was like that all happened at once. And then it was like right after that, I think that was the initiating of the conversation. I think it was maybe that woman who initiated almost like the backwards of like her going back, right? And him going, I would have loved the chance. And then like kind of like be kind. And then real quick, so the last thing is that like, and then there's the whole action sequence of her engaging with everyone's like wants and needs.
Yes.
Right. So I keep thinking of the one where it's like they make this guy is like into BDSM. And so like she puts the thing around his neck and smacks him. and all this stuff. But again, that all came from the Wayman kind of stuff. Go ahead, Rose.
Oh no, I appreciate that clarification because I only asked because I forgot for a second. But at that point, I believe she was more on the lines of Jobu's for you, of nothing mattering. And at that point, just doing whatever she felt with no kind of repercussion or feeling of regret for the consequences. And then we get that scene happening all at once with Wayman, and she kind of comes back to this concept that y'all have already alluded to at the end of even with nothing mattering, that actually flipping into you valuing certain things even more, and really appreciating things a lot more. So that came right at the tail end. But there was something else that came to my mind when because Tangelo just brought up the scene of fighting, and at first she was hurting people, and then she was giving people what they wanted based on what she saw in other universes, which was really funny.
Genius.
And genius, yeah. It's just genius. That's all I gotta say about that.
And I will say the irony is that eventually leads to the moment that she does have with her daughter. Because I think what I noticed in their interactions is each time she would want to say basically something like, I love you, in that vein, it would come out as an insult. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting that if you juxtapose that to her eventually learning, like, I could just give people what they want. Like, I could just say, I love you to my daughter. I could just tell her that, like, with her flaws, I still value her and she is worthy and I'm proud of her, etc. Because she didn't receive that from her father, generational trauma.
Ooh, yes.
But so she didn't receive that from her father, like her wants, the acceptance of like her life choices, that I thought it was just really, really wonderful that what eventually leads to her having a better moment with her daughter was her actually just like, oh, I could just give people what it is that they're wanting to hear or whatever activity, etc., that aligns with who they are as a person and accepting them as a whole, just like she accepted, the daughter and the daughter's girlfriend as well. Because there was that element of, I think she had said something that I don't know, but it was like vaguely insulting, but it was the idea was like, you're accepted into this family because I've now like insulted you in that way. And so
it was the hair. It was at the end, and it was the hair. Is like, you need to cut your hair or something, like, or grow out your hair.
Yeah. And so they're just that way of communication. Like, oh, I actually can just communicate openly with folks. I think it'll take a little bit more time for her, but I did think it was interesting that there was this like rigidity around like never giving in, because that's what she didn't receive. So the map of her life looks like not being able to get the things that you want in the way that you want it, and not being valued for even wanting those things in the first place, etc., to actually changing her position. So I really, really appreciated that part of the film.
Yeah, I think, the whole climax at the end, I thought it was so, I don't know, again, I have to rewatch it a third time, and I just kind of wanted to pick apart the dialogue and the interactions, right? Of like, the last straw for Joy. And there's a moment where, like, Evelyn just goes like, okay, go. She lets go of her in the bagel and lets her like kind of go to the car. But then she like turns around, and there's a moment where she just like insults her more. She's like, you know what? I don't like your hair, and I think you're this, and I think you're that. I think you're that. And Wayman's like, stop. That's enough. But then it's like, Joy was like, let her finish. And then I think, there was like this like shift. And that's why it's like, I need to relook at this dialogue, because it's like, I remember her like railing more on her daughter, but made it a point where it's like, I don't care. You know what? Yeah. And I think it's kind of like the acceptance of that, like, these are the things that bother me, but I don't care. And this me trying to point this out is like, I love you regardless of all those imperfections. Okay. I think that's,
that's a layer of the onion. I will agree. This film requires a lot of viewings, in a good way. Not necessarily like, oh, I don't really understand what's going on here, I need to watch this again to really get it. No, I feel like, one watching, you understand it from one perspective, but upon a second watching, a third viewing, so on and so on, you start seeing things from a new perspective each time, I feel like. And Tangelo clearly showed that, like, watching it twice already, but it needs to go a third time. And I think it's even better that each time you would watch it, because you're gonna notice something new every time.
Yeah, I want to just a really, again, very side thing about like queerness, right? Is that like, I am pretty sure, because there's these shots where it's just like quick frames of different Evelyns across time. I am pretty sure they put one shot of Evelyn being trans mask. I'm pretty sure.
Wait, there trans, was one like female to male?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where it's just like there's just very short hair and looks like mask, and I was like, oh my god, they did that. That is so amazing. Like, so yeah, I can't wait to that. It's going to literally take me to go to like the DVD to like pause and just go slow motion.
Pause.
He was also in a relationship with an alternative version of Jamie Curtis's character as well.
Deidre,
sausage
right?
finger.
That was in the hot dog universe, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird because they ooze mustard and ketchup.
Oh yeah. Oh my.
It was quite the watch.
Damn, is that what happened? Was that like orgasmic?
Yes. Well, that's the thing.
It was on a TV screen. It was on a
TV screen. So it's like, okay, well, what's appropriate in this universe? You know, like what are they willing to show on television? What sold that scene for me is when they went back to 10,000 BC and they showed the sausage primates whooping the ass of the Homo sapiens. I love that. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. The sausage finger primates became dominant. That makes sense.
Now I think, is there a deeper layer with that whole thing?
I guarantee you there is, because they could not carry anything normally. I think even Jamie Lee Curtis's character, she couldn't carry her luggage when she was leaving.
Play the piano with the feet.
Yeah, she played it with the feet. She had the arm brace on her ankle instead. It was great. It was great.
Yeah, because I think that led into the whole like part where she started using her feet, because she got like pinned down or something, and she started using her feet for things in kind of the action sequence. And I think there was something about that scene too that had to do with like love and acceptance. But again, I
sure.
It goes over my head. I have to
like, watch it again.
Redo that.
I definitely gotta watch it again. When we were talking about the absurdity of how to make some of these jumps work, I immediately thought of the was it dildos?
The pinkies?
No.
Oh,
the butt
she
plugs?
was fighting
the butt plug.
The butt plugs.
The butt plugs.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, look,
Which
as
are the
soon as I saw them,
IRS
I
trophies,
knew.
right?
As soon as I saw them,
As soon as I saw it, I was like,
That's going in someone.
yeah.
and they
That is a butt
were
plug.
trying to land on
Man,
it.
they are full on
what a
like
what a
200
choreography.
pounds of pressure.
Right,
falling down.
choreography. Who thinks to add butt plugs into some fight?
A genius.
Martial arts
That's it.
choreography. Yeah,
It was intense.
Oh, it was so.
It was genius.
Yes, it was so funny. I was like, no, don't let him do it.
Don't let him put it in there.
The setup of that scene, right? Because they hit each other with the pipes. They don't know how to fight anymore. And I just remember, the cinematography, it just, you see their heads turn and it just slowly pans to the butt plug. And there's just like, there's no words. It's just everyone knows exactly what's about to happen. Which I think, goes back to why, I think there's the phrase I keep hearing about when it comes to like what makes like really good art is like show, don't tell. And I think, like this is one of those really big instances of that, like, we got the butt plug in the beginning. A lot of people probably just like, because it makes sense with the IRS. Like, that's kind of funny because it's just like, you know why I have those? Deirdre goes like, I have those because I've seen a lot of shit. And it's kind of like funny because it's like, like that makes sense,
Genius.
right?
You're right.
But then like, they really like pivot, they really made sure that they went full circle of like, literally a full circle. Where, like at the end of the day, like, oh wait, this is something that's absurd that can be used for, again, this whole like bouncing thing. Gosh, such a great, the action choreography is just such an amazing, great job.
Cinematography was phenomenal too. DoctahReeka, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, just pointing out too, in terms of like, something I really appreciate about films that, whether they're indie films and whatnot, is like not only just like overall plot creativity, but it was really just in 2 locations, but like dressed up differently.
Yep.
So it's at the IRS office building thing, you know, different floors and whatnot, and then the laundromat. And sure, there's like the apartment, but that's above the laundromat. So there's really just 2 places that they're really focusing on, but using the most of those different locations, which I think kind of just goes to show the planning, but the intentionality in terms of like the filmmakers who wrote and directed, I believe, right?
Right.
So just
Which is fleshed out. It feels like a real IRS facility.
That makes it a very good character piece. It's like we don't need these grandiose sets. You know, we can tell this character-driven story. It's character-driven. We've deep dived the themes of it all. But yeah, it was like we don't need these huge set pieces. Let's make use of this IRS building and make it about the people in here. And they did a fantastic job. Blown away. I
will also say, to build off the cinematography and the music piece as well, mind bending, but genre bending as well. And it's just so many scenes where it's going through like multiple genres at once. And I actually heard an interview slightly about one of the scenes, and that was when Evelyn finds out that the divorce papers and that whole fiasco happens about the divorce papers. Meanwhile, everything else is going on fiasco, but she's so locked in on these divorce papers that are coming from Raymond. And I believe it was a scene where like she's like trying to focus on that, but they're in a truck trying to figure it out right beside Raymond, and she like hits her head on the steering wheel, and then she's getting pulled out by Jamie Lee Curtis because she's trying to beat up in another universe. So like you see this crack and like everything, this mess going on. But when that was happening, like the lens was changing, like the music was changing to fit different genres so that you kind of feel that emotion too. So like when the fight's coming on, it's more intense, and then the lens is shifted to more of that, I don't know if somber is the word, but more of that conflict when she's going through seeing the divorce papers and everything. It's all happening like that.
All at
like
once.
The scenes are they're just changing the colors and the palettes of the scenes and the music of the scenes, like, and it just seems all flawless, like seamless. But I'm like, why am I feeling stuff so much at once? I know it's not just because I see it, but like even with The Rock, I felt so much. Like it was probably one of the big like emotional moments for me personally for some reason. And it's the way they structured it's what I see in it as well, but it's the cinematography layer and the way they do the dialect and the lack of music as well at that particular scene that just builds this level of emotional roller coaster that you're switching in real time, like instantaneously. So
to me, that's an art form. You gotta know what you're doing. You have to know what you're doing. And the fact that they were able to pull that off without it feeling disjointed or feeling like a mess, because there are some movies that try to do that. They barely struggle with 2 genres. And you could see it. you could visibly see it. But this movie, I felt like struck a very good balance where, like Rose was saying, between like comedy, action, the drama, the emotions,
horror elements, classic horror elements.
Even classic horror elements. I felt a little unease.
I think one of the things that helped, like, that allows you to do that really well for this film, I think, is the compartmentalizing that you can like easily do with a multiverse, right? So it's like every verse was almost its own like genre, and so for us as a viewer, like when you switch the verses, you can almost like you automatically know this is a different vibe, and so it's like really easy. I mean, again, what they did was really incredible, but I think it's interesting thinking as like the topical thing of multiverse like allows you to do things like this, because you're having like intensity with like an action sequence and then intensity at the same time with drama about like getting a divorce. And then like, there's a moment I swear around that same area scene where like you feel like really sad and it switches to like Alpha Wayman.
Yeah.
And it just is like, and then it's like, it feels like, I don't know, I feel like for me, like I felt like disjointed being like, wait, no, stop. Like, no. But like, I think because it's like, oh, Alpha Wayman, and like Alpha Wayman's been kind of funny and comedic in some ways. It's like, you can kind of like jump to like a different mindset of like this different person. And what's nice is that you gotta recognize Evelyn's like really confused. Like she's like, wait, no, I need to talk to no.
I agree.
They did a good job at that. Yes. I thought at many points I was like, no, please keep talking. You're right. I could, like, especially in the beginning too, finally getting some details, and then he's like, I gotta go.
No, where are you going? Please.
Right.
No, I agree. But again, they did a phenomenal job telling their story. Do we think, I feel like it's perfect timing for the moment this film released. We have what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks until Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I loved how they handled multiverses in here. I might go in with higher expectations for Doctor Strange. I'm just saying that this is kind of, my standards has kind of increased from here. This was an ingenious way to tell a multiverse story.
I mean,
and
if they're gonna connect all the Michelle Yeoh films together in one multiverse, and then they were always building this Michelle Yeoh cinematic universe, and we just didn't know, then yes, they did a great job.
ingenious.
I don't think I'm gonna do a direct comparison with Doc Strange, but this is a very standalone film. They got their multiverse. They made it very easy to understand, I think. I guess the only thing Doctor Strange needs to make sense is make it make sense.
Poetic.
Again, unfair comparison, but
You know what I think? Okay, this is super, I don't know. I think I'm gonna really, this is like going really in the deep end of like theorizing or just thinking about like, I don't know, art and culture and like as a whole, of how I think what's fascinating is when we're thinking about time and time travel, it's interesting how like throughout time, right? Like we've had different conceptualizations of time travel. And I think it's super fascinating to see how like there's like Back to the Future sci-fi like time travel. And we're entering this new era of like from Interstellar, even Interstellar, right? That counts in some way, is like a multiverse / like, all this stuff. Which I don't know, did you just put your thumbs down for Interstellar? Like
it's okay. Just keep going. It's okay.
I'm like scared. Okay.
It's okay.
And then now you have again this, and then the way that they're handling even like in Marvel, I'm trying to bring this up in the sense like, with more scientific kind of like exploration in the future and how we understand time and space, like I'm so curious to see what type of sci-fi comes out of that. Because this idea of multiverse and stuff like that does stem actually from somewhat of a real like, the real idea of like physics and what happens with superpositions and like, and I keep thinking about that. The one experiment they did, the slit. I don't know if you ever heard about this experiment, right? The laser, and they like shine a light through a slit. And the whole point of that experiment, right, is like they couldn't really ever like predict like where like the light photons are like going. And it's kind of like a really scary thing in physics where we talk about, or where people talk about, it's like, it's like that's like the edge of knowledge of like how does the world work. And again, who knows, 20, 30 years from now, if we'll have like better answers of understanding all that stuff. So, and again, we're going to see that, I'm saying, like permeate and hit arts and culture as well. So,
funny that you mentioned that. I do see a little bit of a shift to Hollywood stories trying to garner more towards multiverse, I guess, stories that they're trying to interwove into their movies. The hot topic for the last 10 years was always time travel. If there was a sci-fi element, they always tried to tell a time travel-esque story. And we kind of saw it with Interstellar. I feel like it kind of peaked with Interstellar in terms of like time travel shenanigans. Grandmaster might disagree. I give that a thumbs up. You better
do you count Tenet as time travel?
Oh, seen Tenet. Is that time travel too?
You should.
That is actually time travel. That's for sure. Yeah.
They flipped the time travel concept to make it time. They are starting. Tenet was very good. I like Tenet.
Thank you.
But they are yes. I'm a Christopher Nolan stan. It's okay.
Are you though?
I can be critical of. I love Dunkirk. People don't like Dunkirk.
Who doesn't like Dunkirk?
You don't
Dunkirk
like
was great.
Interstellar?
Some people listen. I have my thing against Matthew McConaughey, but yes,
Oh,
and
Maybe when
and,
Oppenheimer comes
Anne
out,
Hathaway.
we'll
Actually,
have
I don't
Oh God, here we go. You need to tell them you love them both.
relax.
You need to find them and tell them you love them both.
We'll revisit this when Oppenheimer comes out.
Yeah, this needs
Oh
to.
God, the movie that has everybody in it. Josh Peck is in a Christopher Nolan movie.
Josh
this is
Peck?
We've
insane.
lost them. We've
This
lost
is-
them.
Oh,
You're
Right.
going off the deep end. What are you
Let me
doing?
bring it back.
This is not the multiverse where you start
Right.
talking about Chris Nolan.
I like the multiverse concept. I like shows. I love this movie. I'm excited for Doctor Strange. Stranger Things is coming back, which is also an interdimensional type of thing that the more we talked about, I realized, oh my gosh, Stranger Things is like that. The whole Upside Down is a parallel universe to their world. And it's okay. I love that Hollywood is doing more things with this. They're doing a lot of this, and they're doing a lot of the loops, when people get caught up in the loops and they keep dying and they keep
Like a Groundhog Day thing? Yeah.
That one's kind of running its course.
Yeah,
It-
that
it
one's
is.
ran.
It's really good though.
Like that Tom Cruise movie.
Yes,
Live, Die,
just like
Repeat.
End of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah,
Oh
Edge
yeah,
of
it got
Tomorrow, yep.
changed
Also
to
was
Live,
really
Die.
good, by the way.
which one?
Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh, right. It was very good. Yeah, no, I enjoyed it.
Very good, just saying.
I appreciate Hollywood pushing and just doing different things. This movie was so different from what we're used to. And shout out to them for just telling another, kind of Asian-led story. I feel we're seeing a lot of more minority stories, or like minority actors in leads. And I really like that. This could have easily been Tom Cruise in a movie.
Oh no, we
Ew.
don't see Tom Cruise in this kind of movie.
Okay, this could have been Julia Roberts. This could have been Julia Roberts.
I can see Julia Roberts. Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying. I'm just like,
I don't
yes,
know.
I'd rather see Michelle Yeoh. I'd rather see Jonathan, aka Short Round. I love James Hong. James Hong is a prolific voice actor. I love seeing him in live action. I love that guy. So I really appreciate everything this movie did. Even if I weren't awake for it all.
And I think there is I could imagine someone has to be writing people about this soon about how I think we're facing an issue in the Asian American community that I'm curious to see it be faced right now, where it's like our Asian representation, because Asian is very homogenous, right? There's so much within the world Asian, right? And so I feel like we're seeing a lot of Malaysian, Chinese, Korean, Japanese. Tokyo Vice, geez, that's on HBO Max right now, right? That's again, yes, you have
Ansel Elgort.
Elgort and all that stuff. But the Ken,
Ken Watanabe.
Watanabe, right? But we're not seeing can you name one Indonesian star, or one Filipino
Indonesian
Tila
star?
Tequila.
other than Filipino is actually kind of becoming a thing, right?
I don't know his name, but
Don't
he
laugh,
was
Rose.
in oh my god, I love this movie. The Riot? Is it The Riot?
Oh,
Indonesian
Ja-
movie.
Eco.
Jai.
Eco.
Is it Eco? His name?
Yeah, that's his first name.
Okay. I love the guy and everything he's in almost, and I can't
He's
remember
really
his
good.
name. But that's my go-to Indonesian actor.
Yeah.
He was great in The Riot. The Riot's a great movie. Go watch that. All takes place in a motel
great.
room. But yeah.
I just think I think there's going to be a lot of conversations, and because I think we're starting to feel this vibe of okay, Asians are just starting to rock it, or they've been rocking it, but it's we are really getting more opportunities and stuff like that. But then now there's the whole question of okay, within the Asian community, let's talk about the fact of who are what Asians are getting roles in the stories being told, and how might that be accidentally homogenizing our narratives? Because Raya and the Last Dragon, I think, was a huge issue kind of with that, where it's okay, we're thankful, but also it's they didn't really do the greatest of jobs of really kind of showcasing culture, because they kind of just threw everything together and all that stuff. So I don't know, I think that's something to be said regarding the critique of the excitement of the Asian American kind of narrative that's happening, but also again, I'm thankful, I'm gonna take what we can get. That's that's what a lot of us also
This
are
film
saying.
was great.
Right.
Simple
The film
as
was
that. I'm looking forward to anything else this duo has to give us in cinema. And I think they were also involved with television, if I'm not mistaken. I think they did like one thing in television. I would have to look it up.
You're talking about the
Also-
Dans?
The Dan.
You know,
yeah.
also the Russo brothers, I think, produced this movie.
They did produce it.
They did.
did.
Yeah, that's why I said Marvel sprinkles.
Oh, Marvel sprinkles. A little bit
Because
of Loki.
the,
in it.
the Russos recognize real. R is for Russo. R is for real. R is for
Yes. Correct.
right.
Ours for Ratatouille.
Ratatouille. We didn't talk about Ratatouille.
I was just gonna let that be my final thoughts. I
Give
feel
me-
like we're near the final thoughts, and I was just gonna let that be my final thought. But we could talk about.
We need to
it
talk
too.
about the bagel, man. We need to talk about the bagel. Bagel.
Everything.
Go,
bagel.
man.
What we talked about everything this whole time. It's an everything bagel, because everything everywhere,
Yes.
all at once. You eat an everything bagel, you're experiencing all these flavors all at once.
And that was what Jobu said it was. You know, it was a piece of everything from all the known multiverses.
Right.
Compass.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a
everything.
level of connectivity. Hence the circle, right? Infinite.
Exactly. If I was in charge of this, I would have used an onion, because an onion is also circular and it has layers, and there's a lot you could do with an onion. But everything bagel, fine, whatever. I'm sure it's applicable.
It works.
But I guess for the last bit before we wrap up, favorite universe, RACCA-COONY. I love it. It's ingenious. I loved it. I thought they were not going to do anything with it. They did. They did.
It's just genius because they set up the joke in the beginning of the movie.
And it's a simple joke. No, like nothing to build up off
It's actually, yeah, it's not even a joke. It's just she got it wrong. She's like, I thought that movie was about a raccoon. No, it's about a rat. Hence the name Ratatouille. And then come second to third act transition. Here is the freaking chef with the raccoon. And he's alive. It's not a movie. Hilarious.
And she points. I think she's like, RACCA-COONY. Like, there's some.
Yeah, she does. She does.
It
Well,
all ties into her character too. It ties into her character development and art. Because remember, she tells on him first, and he's outside crying.
Let's go
And
see
then-
your raccoon.
And then the end is she allows, like,
He
sits
jumps on top
him.
of her head. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he sits on her head.
Then she throws them off. Jeez.
Oh my God. It starts fighting for her, doesn't it? Doesn't it start
Yes.
fighting for her? Oh,
Yes.
Yes,
gosh. Come on, man. That is so funny. Oh,
it was good.
that's my, yeah. I'm
That's the
done.
fave universe. Okay.
No, that's just the definitive everything. It's my favorite part. I know it's a beautiful story with layers and themes, but God, I walk away from that with that, and here we are.
I think it's amazing how, like, you really, I don't know, some people, I've read some people are like, oh, this movie's predictable, but like, there's a level of like, you know, they threw the RACCA-COONY and you kind of just go like, LOL, that's funny. Like, she just messed up. But then like, it just, I think what was so great, everyone loved about it, is that like, and going back to like, this movie's so absurd that like, you know, that was given, and you're kind of like, oh, we should have saw that coming. But like, most people probably didn't think of like, oh, they're gonna have a RACCA-COONY bit. But lo and behold, yeah, they do it. And I think a part of the whole reason why we loved it is because like, it is something that's quite expected, but like we kind of didn't expect it in the end, you know?
No, I easily top three best moments in the film. Any other final thoughts before we wrap up? I feel like we covered most of everything with the film. Sausage fingers, great.
The rocks.
The butt plug. Everyone likes the butt plug scene. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we got it.
Overall, great film. We're assuming if our listeners have listened this far in, you likely have already seen the movie. Hopefully, please. And if you haven't, I kind of hate you right now, but no, I don't hate you. Go watch it still. It's a great movie. And let us know what you think. What is your favorite scene? What is your favorite multiverse Evelyn? Did you like the concept of the bagel? Did you like the concept of the raccoon and RACCA-COONY? What were your overall thoughts of this film? Because this is going to require, I have to see this at least another time, because it's a really good movie. I'm probably going to see this with a couple friends, maybe family members that are into this. And yeah, this is going to be a film that I think people are going to talk about for a while. And that's a good thing. I'm glad that a film like this is getting the recognition that it deserves right now. And who knows, maybe we'll see it at the Oscars next year. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But that, I think, wraps up everything we have to say here at the Yonkō Table, folks. Let us know what you think on social media. We're on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, at the Yonkō Table. Let us know your thoughts on the film. Give us a like, give us a shout out, and let us know what you think. But with that, everyone, I'm your Yonkō host, DrJaceAttorney, fellow Yonkō GrandMasterHoop, and Supernovas Rose The Crafter, DoctahReeka, and Tangelo. Signing off, guys, and take care.